As you guys know, UFC 313 is right around the corner, and this card will be taking place on March 8th. And the fight headlining this card will be a fight for the light heavyweight title between Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. And in my opinion, I think this card is very average. Obviously, this is not a bad pay-per-view. This is definitely a step up from UFC 312. But there's only a few really good matchups that I'm going to be looking forward to. And my favorite fight, which would have been Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker, has been canceled. And that will be Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. And don't get me wrong, that is still a very good matchup. But the anticipation waiting for Justin Gaethje and Dan Hooker to fight, it's just been a kind of a letdown for the entire card. However, I'm looking forward to that Jalen Turner matchup against Ignacio Bahamondes, and I still want to see what Mauricio Ruffy can do in the lightweight division as well. So, for this video, I will be providing you guys with my picks and predictions for every single fight that will be happening on this pay-per-view. As usual, before we get into it, like, comment, and subscribe, and comment below your thoughts about this pay-per-view. I definitely want to hear you guys' feedback. So, hopping straight into this, opening up the card, we have a fight between Maron Santos versus Francis Marshall. And for this fight, I will be picking Maron Santos to win by a decision. Maron Santos, he has the superior striking in this matchup, and he can also maintain distance very well. And I think that is going to be the key to him effectively utilizing his striking. And as well as him being able to control the distance in this fight, he can also control the pace of the fight. And as long as he executes those two things and just avoids the pressure of Francis Marshall, I don't see anything wrong with predicting him to win by a decision. I might go as far to say a 30-27 decision as well, because I really think that Santos, his control over the entire fight, that's going to be the thing that really dominates Francis Marshall in this matchup. Next, we have a fight between Alex Morono versus Carlos Leo, and for this fight, I will be picking Carlos Leo to win by a TKO. Same thing with the other matchup. I think that Carlos Leo, he has the superior striking and he has the superior pressure. I can see Carlos Leo landing that picture perfect right hand and just knocking out Alex Morono. He did get robbed against Renat Fakhretdinov. That was a short notice fight. But if Carlos Leo is skilled enough to basically defeat a UFC caliber fighter on short notice, I don't see why he would lose. And one thing I want to mention is that Carlos Leo, he is clearly on steroids. He showed up to his last fight against Renat Fakhretdinov with acne all over his body, which are clear signs of hormonal changes from steroid use. So that's why I really wasn't even mad when he got robbed, because all the evidence points to him cheating and using steroids in the first place. So maybe it serves him right to be robbed in that matchup, but don't get mad if you get cheated if you're the one cheating in the first place. Now, moving on to the next matchup, we have a fight between DeJordan Santos versus Ozzy Diaz, and I will be picking DeJordan Santos to win by a decision. DeJordan Santos, he is a great counter striker. He has good composure in the cage, and I think that he's going to be able to land the more precise punches in this matchup and outpoint Ozzy Diaz. And he has a very good clinch game as well, which I think this is going to factor into this fight. And combined with Santos's cardio and his good technique, I don't really see any reason why I would pick against DeJordan Santos in this matchup. Obviously, this is a fight and anything can happen, but on paper, I think that DeJordan Santos, he can get this win by a decision. Next fight on the card is going to be between Bruno Ferreira versus Armen Petrosyan, and for this fight, I will be picking Bruno Ferreira to win by a TKO or knockout. Bruno Ferreira, he's very explosive. He has that KO power in his hands. He almost knocked out Abus Magomedov when he fought him in his last fight. and Abus, he was able to weather the storm and secure a submission. But just by Bruno Ferreira showing that he has the power to knock out Abus Magomedov, potentially, I think that picking him is probably the safe choice, especially since Armen Petrosyan, he is coming off of some knockout losses in his most recent fights. So that is really my main reasoning behind picking Bruno Ferreira. Obviously, I do think that Armen Petrosyan, he is the more skilled striker, but Bruno Ferreira, you can't look past anyone who can end a fight with the ferocity of Bruno Ferreira. So, like I said, I will be picking Bruno Ferreira to win by a knockout. Next fight on the card will be in the flyweight division between Ray Sarua versus Joshua Van, and I will be picking Joshua Van to win by a decision. I think that Joshua Van, he is going to be the superior striker in this matchup. I think that Van, if he maintains a good pace and kind of picks up the pace like he did against Cody Durden in his recent fight, I think that he could end up drowning Ray Sarua. Obviously, Ray, he is a very good fighter as well. I believe that he is undefeated, but I think that Joshua Van, he's good enough to hand him his first loss. And like I said, Joshua Van, he has good cardio, he has good composure, and I think that he's going to be able to win this by decision by outpointing Ray Sarua on the feet. And Joshua Van, he has excellent takedown defense, so he can neutralize any grappling exchanges that Ray might attempt if Joshua Van is getting the better of him on the feet. Next fight on the card will be in the UFC heavyweight division between Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kuniev, and I will be picking Curtis Blades to win by a knockout. I think that this is a pretty straightforward matchup to predict. I don't think there's any wild cards to worry about. Curtis Blades, he is a excellent, high quality, elite heavyweight fighter in the UFC, and Rizvan Kuniev, I don't think that he has ever fought any heavyweight fighter who is the caliber of a Curtis Blades. I think that Curtis Blades, he's going to take Rizvan down, and I think that he's going to ground and pound TKO him. Moving on, we have a fight between two lightweights, and this is one of my top 3 favorite fights on this card, and that'll be between Jalen Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes. And if you watched the Fear card at UFC 306, you know that Ignacio, he's not anyone to just scoff at. He is an elite fighter. He has the KO power. He has the striking competence. He has the range. And I think that he's going to win this fight by TKO. Jalen Turner, he has the same build as Ignacio, but Ignacio, he uses his skills, that 6'3" frame. You don't really see that in the lightweight division. I think that Ignacio, he uses those skills way better than Jalen Turner. And another thing I want to talk about is that the weight cut between those two fighters, I think that Ignacio, he takes that weight cut to lightweight way better than Jalen Turner. We've seen in previous fights that Jalen Turner, he misses weight. He missed weight against Dan Hooker. And Ignacio, I think the weight cut might be more comfortable for him. And we all know that a comfortable weight cut leads to a comfortable performance. So I will be picking Ignacio Bahamondes to win by a TKO. If I were to predict a round, I would say the second round. But I think that Ignacio, he is the more deadly striker in this mirror matchup. Moving on, we have a fight between Bobby Green versus Mauricio Ruffy, and I will be picking Mauricio Ruffy by a TKO. Ruffy's last opponent, he had a really, really good chin. He missed weight, so he was able to take those punches way better than most of Mauricio's other opponents. I think that Mauricio, if he touches Bobby Green's chin, I think that Bobby Green, he's going to go out cold. And Ruffy, he's going to have the speed advantage. Bobby Green, he is getting old. And I think that his speed has been decreasing. He got knocked out bad, a very bad stoppage against Jalen Turner. And even though he came back against Jim Miller, I still think that Bobby Green, he hasn't fought someone on the feet who is as powerful of a striker like Mauricio Ruffy. So I will be picking Mauricio Ruffy to win by a TKO. I will say first round TKO as well. I think that this is going to be Mauricio Ruffy's breakout performance in the UFC. Obviously, the Fighting Nerds, they're running the UFC right now, and there's no reason for me to all of a sudden just think that momentum is going to hold. And I think that Mauricio Ruffy, he's going to win by a first round knockout. Next up, we have the feature fight in the women's division between Amanda Lemos versus Lasmin Lucindo. I will be picking Lasmin Lucindo to win by a decision. She has very high pressure. She has good volume striking. And I think that Lucindo is going to wear down Amanda Lemos over the course of the 3 rounds and win by like a 29-28 or a 30-27 decision. Now for the co-main event, we have a fight between Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev. Like we all know, this is a short notice bout. Fiziev is taking this fight on like 10 days notice. And I think that Justin Gaethje, he's going to win by a decision because Justin Gaethje has been working hard in a training camp for this matchup. And Fiziev, he is taking this fight on like 10 days notice. And I just think that Fiziev, he might not be prepared to just face Justin Gaethje on a whim like that. Justin Gaethje, he won their last matchup. And honestly, a lot of people have been saying that Rafael Fiziev, he should have got that scorecard. And in my opinion, I think that Justin Gaethje, he did enough to win the fight. I think the fight could have went either way, but I think that there's nothing wrong with Justin Gaethje winning that first matchup between him and Fiziev, and I don't think it was a robbery at all. That was a very close fight, and I think that this fight is going to be as entertaining as their first fight as well. So I will be picking Justin Gaethje to win by a decision. Now for the main event of UFC 313, we have a fight in the UFC light heavyweight division for the undisputed title between Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. And if you guys been keeping up with my channel, you know that I will be picking Alex Pereira to win by a decision. Obviously, we all know that Ankalaev, he is primarily a striker, and Alex Pereira, he is a striker as well. He was a Glory kickboxing champion. Now, when people are analyzing this matchup, I think that people are overrating Magomed's wrestling and control ability in the grappling, and they're underestimating Alex Pereira's defensive grappling capabilities. I think that Alex Pereira, he has been working in the gym. He is already an amazing striker. So I think that during this whole fight camp, he had to be drilling takedown defense. He had to be drilling submission escapes. I think that Alex Pereira, coming into this fight, I think that he's going to be a defensive juggernaut when it comes to the ground game and grappling. I think that Magomed Ankalaev, he won't be able to just ragdoll someone like Alex Pereira just because he's been drilling grappling defense for this whole camp. And when you combine that with just the sheer fact that Alex Pereira is a very huge light heavyweight, I think that Magomed Ankalaev, he's going to find himself failing a lot of takedowns if he tries to run from the striking exchanges. And another thing that you have to consider is that Alex Pereira, those leg kicks, obviously you've seen that Magomed Ankalaev, he got chewed up with the leg kicks when he fought Jan Blachowicz. And I think that Alex Pereira, his leg kicks, they're going to be less telegraphed and they might not be as damaging, but they're going to add up when Alex Pereira keeps kicking at that leg. And I think that is going to contribute more to Magomed Ankalaev failing takedowns. And I think that Alex Pereira, he's going to be able to keep this fight on the feet. And I can see him winning by a decision. He might lose like the first round or like the 5th round when he's like tired. But I think that Alex Pereira, he's going to be able to maintain control over this fight, keep it on the feet mostly, and I can see him winning by a decision. Now, I would not even be surprised if Alex Pereira knocks him out, but I think that Magomed Ankalaev, he is a pretty defensively sound fighter, so I don't see Magomed getting like flatline KO'd or anything like that. But I think that Alex Pereira is going to be able to keep this fight on the feet and win by a dominant like 49, 46, or a 48-47 decision.